All right, this is a Fair Play golf cart. I'm not quite sure the year, but has solid axle front end. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna cut it right here straight, add 3 inches of square tubing down here, and then weld this piece onto that, and I'll brace everything up. So what I'm gonna do, and I'll do it on both sides obviously, to get about a 3-inch lift, and that should clear 22-inch tires, even when it's in full suspension compression and turned. So at least that's what I calculated. So that's what I'm going to be doing with this. I'll document it over time. Hopefully you can see the line there that I've drawn out. Well, it's going to show up on video, but I did one on each side. It goes all the way around, of course, so it'll be a nice square cut, hopefully. And now I'm just going to hit it with my grinder with cutoff wheel, cut it off as straight as I can, and then I'll complete at least a takedown of this thing, and then I'll weld in 3-inch pieces of square tubing to complete the lift. All right, just completed welding all this stuff. Table's a little dirty right now. I've got stuff here, but this is how I dropped this 4 inches. Is what I ended up doing. Originally thought 3 would be enough, but I went back over the calculations, and I just wanted to give myself a little extra clearance. So this is basically a 4-inch piece, square tubing, and what I've done was cut this axle right here, and then just welded this piece in here. This piece is the continuation of that, and did that on both sides. And I'm gonna put in some bracing right in here when this thing cools down. I'm actually gonna go visit somebody who's in the hospital. I'll put some bracing in there and then put it on the golf cart. All right, this is the bracing that I did. Just wanted to show you, but I'm not a professional welder. I'm just backyard mechanic type guy. Much how everybody else who would be watching this is, and but that'll hold. All right, now that the front lift is completed, I'm doing a spring over lift in the rear. Got the axle pulled out. The axle used to rest right on top of this, with this center hole here, right over this nut here. Anyways, so it used to sit here, and now I'm going to move it down here. It's going to give me about 3.5 inches of lift in the back. I've got 4 inches in the front, and that should be good enough. So I'm going to document how I do the spring over lift for the back of this golf cart. Okay, this is how I'm going to be doing this spring over. I've got a saddle bracket. It's for this 2-inch and 3/8 inch axle. It's a standard part you can buy right on Amazon. Anyways, I put that underneath this leaf spring here, in between the axle and the leaf spring, and it's got a hole in it for this bolt to run through. I've got these square U-bolts running down that will go into the axle here, and all these holes will line up. Now the problem here is I've got some interference here, so I'm gonna notch this piece out right here. I'm gonna cut this edge out. I don't need it to, that won't affect how this thing is held, but it'll allow me to hook the brake back up, because now that the spring is above the axle, you know, we had this interference problem. The other thing I have to do is I'm going to cut this perch off. This was for the shock, and I'm going to cut it off down here and weld it to this so that I can attach the shock back down to it. And that should pretty much be it. I got to do this on both sides. All right, this is everything's mounted up right now. I've just got one more little detail to do on this, and I'll show that later. But anyways, I notched this out so that the brake will connect up just right. A little tip here, it's better to put the brake on first and then do this. It's just easier that way. But everything's hooked up. Let me show the other side. All right, and same thing, I notched the other side, brakes on. And anyways, that square U-bolt is about 5.5 inches long, and this bracket right here that I notched, that's standard stuff. You can pick it up either on Amazon. I'll put a link in to where I got mine, and or you can go to a trailer shop and that specializes in trailer parts, and you can pick these things up. But anyways, that's how I did the spring over, and got close to 4 inches on this thing. It was 3.5 and then some. So that'll match the front, and there's one more thing I got to do. All right, this is the last bit I got to do. This perch here was for the shock, and I just got to take my angle grinder and cut this off here, and then weld it onto the top of this piece here so that I can mount the shock to it. And right now the shock is just sitting up there. It's a good shock. That's got a lot of dampening in it, so it's hard to push up and down. But that's where it's gonna go. So all I gotta do is cut this off, weld it up here on this bracket, and mount the shock to it, and I've got a lifted golf cart at the cost of, let me see, it took about $10 in materials in the front and about $20 in the rear. So for about 30 bucks, I got a 4-inch lift on my golf cart. Pretty good for at home. Okay, this is what my budget lift looks like. It's 4 inches in the front, about 3.5 in the rear, which seems to be perfect because it still looks like it's angled like the rear is higher than the front. But anyways, this is what you can do with $30 worth of material. And the wheels are 22 inch by 11 wide, 10 inch, I think, no, maybe it was 8 inch rims. And anyways, fit in there, and I can actually put bigger wheels in there if I want to. Didn't want to get it any taller because then they get a little tipsy. So but that's what a budget lift looks like. And what I'm going to do next is put a solar panel on the top with an inverter. I'm driving a big 12 volt battery, deep cycle. Anyways, that'll give me 120 volts AC anywhere I need it, and it'll also power this vehicle. It'll start it up, and gives me a little bit of utility purpose on this thing. I'm gonna put a little dump bed on the back as well. So anyways, it's gonna be a utility vehicle. Thanks for watching.